Genesis. You don't have to turn there, but I'm just going to tell you where we're going to be, though. We're going to be in Genesis 49. We're going to be in Joshua. And we're going to probably end up in John. Finish it off in John. This morning, I want to ask you talk about legacy. What is legacy? What would you consider, what would you say the definition of legacy is? What you leave behind for people after you leave, after you're gone. And I know you young folks right now, that's the least thing you're thinking about. As you get me in Freddie's age, it starts creeping up on you. That's not a joke, that's just being honest. You start thinking about what you've done, what you're leaving behind. But this morning, I want to talk about what we leave the world, how the world looks at legacy, and how the Christian looks at legacy, what the difference is. What would you, this morning, if you look at the world would look at a person, how would they look at your legacy? What would they consider a good legacy you left behind? Money. What you have, what you accomplish, what's the word I'm looking for? What you gathered, what you accumulated. That's the professional word I was looking for, Joseph. What you've accumulated. Now, when I say accumulated, I'm not talking about not a man's toys, his bass boats or stuff like that. I'm talking about how big your house is, how much land you have, and your kids are looking at, what's Daddy and Mama going to leave me? Yeah,
ours going to be mad.
Ours be like, how long do they work? and Robert always said you can't take it with him. I said, let's go dig him up. He put it in the bottom of the casket somewhere. He ain't leaving us nothing. Daddy always told me, he said, son, he says, not what you take with you or what's left behind is the kind of life you live. And let me tell you right now, he proved that when he left. He said, I'm going to show you. But, today, when you're at a meal or if you're at a school or wherever you work, if a man goes in and he starts out at the bottom, starts out wherever, there's no progression. What does that say about him? What does it say about him? Lazy. He don't want to achieve. Right. Now let me ask you this. Does that say that he is money hungry? If he does progress through the meal and does progress and want to do better? No. It just says he wants to do better for himself. He wants to make a better life for his family. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nowhere in the Bible that says that's a sin. The sin is when you put that above God. When you start worshiping. There's a difference. There's a fine line. There's a difference. We're not going to talk about that this morning. This morning we're going to talk about when you get to that point, and we're going to, and 2 Peter talks about it. When you get to that point, and we're going to talk about this morning about deathbed. It's one of the words we're going to use. When you get to that point, what is people going to say about Freddie? What are they going to say about me? What are they going to say about Brother Joey? Notice I didn't use any of the ladies as examples. It's not been a joke. Because we are the leaders of our house. We are the ones that's looked upon. And when it comes time, you go back into the Bible, anywhere in the Bible, it doesn't say anything about when the lady in the house, when Abraham's wife died, what did Sarah say on her deathbed? It don't say nothing about whether Moses, I don't even think Moses was married, so that wouldn't be a good choice. It doesn't say anything about the wife, what she said on her deathbed. That's not being disrespectful to you ladies. That's just what I'm saying, what the Bible's stating. That's what we're looking at this morning. Because we are the leaders, and we are looked upon as how we lead our families. Okay? You young guys, that's what's, as Brother Joey has preached before, this church is in your hands. You say, well, no, it's not yet. Whether we keep the lights on here at New Hope is in your hands. And I like every Sunday morning, I can look right here and y'all looking at me. Y'all might be looking at me through a glaze, but y'all looking at me. No, not really. I'm just messing with y'all. Don't get mad at me, Joseph. Okay, 2 Peter says, yea, I think it meet, as long as I am in this tabernacle, to stir you up by putting you in remembrance, knowing that shortly I must put off this tabernacle, even as our Lord Jesus Christ has showed me. The tabernacle he's talking about is not the actual physical tabernacle, but it's talking about his body. Peter's getting to the point now he knows that he's in his last days. Now let me ask you a question. This is another. Now I'm talking to everybody. Would you want to know when you're in your last days? Think about it. Would you want to know that you got 1 week left? You would?
See, I'm a planner. I don't be like.
And see, I'm a stressor. I'd stress all week and not enjoy what time I have left, so I wouldn't want that.
I always think of my grandma. She had
I wouldn't, because I'd be too stressed
down
with
to
that.
the jewelry she had on. She had it planned and all of that.
I don't want to know.
I don't
And Chris, to tell you, I'm the type of person that if I don't know something, I'm not nosy. Well, yeah, I am. Not knowing something, like that's going to affect my family or affect me, drives me insane. I can't stand it.
And see, if I'm only have a week to live, first thing I'm gonna do is go skydiving.
Just go in there.
She just gonna push it.
I only have a week left. I wanted to do it, but always chickened out, so I'm
I
doing
can tell you right now, Robert's got enough common sense. I ain't jumping out of a perfectly good airplane.
I wouldn't be able to play with it.
Pretty be down there. Go ahead, baby, jump. I get you. Yeah, exactly. But I think that's why God says He knows every day, every hour. Because He knows that it would change. Okay, let me ask you this. If you didn't know that this is your last week, how many people would be in church this morning knowing it's their last week?
Yeah, amen.
Think about it. So what does that tell you about God? What does that tell you about last week? Well, I think it was last week, or it might have been the week before. Pretenders or contenders? That would be pretenders. They live their life how they want to live it,
Right.
but then that last week they're going to come and get it right. Now let me ask you this. Would that be right? No, that wouldn't be right. So let me say it this way. You're going to live with your wife. You ain't going to work. You ain't going to take care of her. You're going to treat her like junk. And then they tell you last week you're going to leave. You're going to be a perfect husband. What's the difference?
Right. Amen.
What's the difference? There's no difference.
That's right.
Now, you can also look at it and say, that's God giving that person a last chance to get it right. Okay, you can look at it, you can take things 1,000 ways to look at it. But that's why God didn't let us know. Because He wants us to want Him unconditional. See what I'm saying? That's why He could have created me and Josie as robots and said, you gonna love me, you know.
Right.
That's why I think my mom taught me everything she taught me. Well, I was living by myself at the time too. But one of the things I'll never forget that she said this, and this was when she was teaching me how to cook. I can't make souffles. I can't make casseroles and dishes like my wife can make, but I can cook enough so I don't starve to death. And I can cook, and this is how she taught me. I'll just go ahead and say it. She said, I want to teach you how to cook, I want to teach you how to clean, I want to teach you how to take care of your clothes. For one reason. I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be good. Because I want you to want your wife, not need her. And I thought to myself, when she said that, I'm like, wouldn't you want to need her? But if you need someone or need something, then you learn how to do that, or learn how to, you don't need her no more. What do you have her around for? Except want. That's what God created us like we are. He created us with that will. He wants us to have a relationship with Him. I've actually heard a man say this. I became a Christian so I don't have to go to hell. Do what?
I said, I don't think that'll work very well for him.
Okay, so if you become a Christian, not go to hell, isn't that the same thing as becoming a Christian? To go to heaven? So why would you become a Christian? So if I say I'm gonna go get me a job so I don't have to sleep under a bridge and eat bologna sandwiches, that was for you, and eat bologna sandwiches, then go get a job and so I can take care of my family better. What's the difference?
Your motivation, to me, it would be, I never thought about whether I was going to hell or not when I was saved. All I thought about was my relationship.
Right.
Wasn't what it was supposed to be, and I was full of sin.
You wanted a relationship with God, not, you didn't get saved just because you didn't want to go to heaven, you wanted a
No,
relationship.
because I didn't even think about going to hell. My thought was, oh my God, I am full of sin. I realized that during a wreck, but.
So what you're saying is, and let me use an example. If I'm not on weed, let me know. If I'm not on the same road with you. So getting married, so you don't have to eat bologna sandwiches and have somebody cook it clean for you, that's not why you get married.
If it is, it's not gonna last very long.
Yeah, amen.
You got that right? No, I'm sorry. So it goes back to our relationship, and I'm gonna tie this back into legacy. Y'all just bear with me. So this goes back to what our relationship with God. Just to become a Christian. Now, me and him talked about it, and I told him, I said, dude, if you became a Christian just so you wouldn't go to hell, you might want to go check it out. Because that's like getting married just so you don't have to cook. Because sooner or later, your wife's going to figure out that's why you married, and you're going to walk in there one day, it's going to be a jar of mayonnaise, a loaf of bread, and some great value turkey sandwich maybe. My wife caught that, so I don't have to say that to anybody else. That was not a dog. That was just that's what I eat when I go to work. When we become a Christian, it should be out of, like my wife was saying, it should be out of love. It should be out of that want to, that relationship. And that's the same reason you get married, boys. When y'all meet a girl and you go to bed at night, that's the last thing you think about. When you get up in the morning, the first thing you think about is wanting to call her or find out what she's doing or how she's doing. That's the real deal. Okay? When you go to bed at night, last thing on your mind, if it's love, would be like I was talking about, like what I just said. When you have that kind of relationship with the Lord, people's going to see that. Legacy is all about, this is going to sound horrible, but it's the truth. Legacy is all about what other people see in your life. And you said that's just wrong. Well, that's facts. That's true. Just like Freddie just said, that's facts. Now, we're going to end this. I'm going to talk to you about legacy at the end. Let's go to, you don't have to turn it, I'll read it. We're going to go to Genesis 49. It says in verse 1, it says, And Jacob called unto his sons, and said, Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. Gather yourselves together, and hear ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father. And in the next verses, it goes down him talking to his sons. Why would he call his sons all to his bed to talk to them? Did he call them and tell them what they're going to inherit? Could be. Did he call and tell them, maybe he just want to have one last conversation with each one of them? It's kind of, I didn't think about this just very second. My dad did the same thing when he was in hospice. And they didn't tell him, Mr. Richmond, this is your last night. I think he knew. Because he called my brother in there. He called me. And then he said, he goes, I need to talk to y'all get out of here. I'm going to spend time with my girl. I ain't never heard him, well, yeah, he's called my mom his girl before. When he called that, I walked out and told Wilkie, I looked at my brother and I said, he knows. He said, yeah. It ain't going to be much time left. But why did he want his sons to come around his bed to talk to him? He want to share that one last time with his sons? Legacy. He wanted to make sure that his sons understood where he stood, where his life, where he led his life had been, how he led his life. He wanted to be sure. Now you say, well, his sons, if he'd led his life like he's supposed to, then his sons would have understood. Right? There's some things you want to make sure of. And that's one of the things he wanted to make sure of. Let's go to Joshua. Joshua, he was talking to him. Mark it wrong, give me a second. Joshua was the same thing. He showed him that he was, and Joshua was different. He was talking to him about it in a pagan land. They would want him to worship the other gods. And he gathered his family around to tell him one thing. He said, I know we're in this land. I think it's 24:15, if I'm not wrong. Or not 24:15. Yeah, I think I'm right. And yes, 24:15, and it says, And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom ye will serve. Whether the gods, small g, which your fathers served, that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites, whose land ye dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Now, if you're on your deathbed and you tell your family that, they already knew. That ain't something that they just a surprise. They already knew. Now, a legacy, your children, how do you teach? How do you teach your children through, and it can become a legacy? How do you teach them? Do you just teach them and say, go with your mom? Today's Sunday, you go with your mom, go to church, or your mom comes in there, then mom comes in and gets them up, and takes them to Sunday school, takes them to church, and you hear, do as I say, not as I do. Is that a legacy? Yeah. That is a legacy.
Very good one.
That is a legacy. It's not a Christian legacy, but it is a legacy. My point is this. Thank you. The life you lead is your legacy.
That's right, amen.
Now, I didn't say that that was a Christian legacy. And I'm going to say this, and this may not be agreeable with some people. But you're going to see a lot of good, moral, upstanding people that would give you the shirt off their back and take the last $100 out of that checking account and give you so you can go buy bread, and they're going to burn in hell.
That's right, amen.
And you're probably going to see a lot of people when you get up there, you're like, huh? So what am I saying? Am I saying that there's a lot of good moral people that's going to bust hell wide open? That's exactly what I'm saying. And there's a lot of people that you look at today, you're like, there ain't no way they're going to hell. And don't sit there and say, I can't believe you said, you think the same thing. I talk just like we do. Y'all think the same thing. And it's the old saying that, can't remember who I heard say this, but it was hilarious at the time. Then I started thinking about it, I said, man, that is true. You got people that you wouldn't ride in a car for 3 hours to go on a family vacation, but you'll cry at their funeral.
Yeah, amen.
I can think of at least 3. I know you're saying, Rob, that's terrible. I'm just telling you facts. There's a lot of things I say that you say is terrible, but that's not, and it's just facts. And Cassie just told Freddie she come up with 5.
Yeah.
And Freddie probably sitting there saying, wait a minute, those are all in my family. But yeah, you know, you think about it, that's true. You wouldn't want to drive with them to go grocery shopping, but when they die, you'll cry for them. Now, what's that say? What's that say about you, about us? And you know, I thought about this week, and it really hit me. And I'm not going to go into names, I'm not going to say it because out of respect. But what do you say, a preacher, a pastor, what would you say at a funeral that you absolutely know that person was not a Christian? I mean, the only thing you do is console the family. I have heard this, and only a couple times. I have heard a pastor, and I didn't catch it when I was in, because I was a younger dude. He actually preached the gospel at the funeral. It wasn't no consoling. It wasn't any talking about how good of a person he was. He actually preached the gospel. He actually preached. And after the funeral, later on we was talking about it, and I thought about why. Because 99% of those people that was at that funeral was probably the first time they'd ever been into the darkened doors of the church, and he was trying to get them saved.
Right.
Or at least trying to prick their heart. Is that sad to say? Yes. But did he do what he should have done? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes preaching to people and trying to get them to understand is not the most favorable thing that you can do. But like Brother Joey's preached, and we've talked about before, what we do here on earth is not, we're not looking for a reward. At least we should. One day our reward is going to be in heaven.
Right, amen.
Now what y'all think? I'm thinking about this. I was reading Brother Joey's books he gave me, and he was talking about this. And it made me, I knew this, but just kind of made me really think about it. Well, and I don't know if this is actually going to happen or if it just gives us a mental image for our human brains. Because I haven't talked to anybody that's in heaven yet, which you won't. That was a joke, y'all. Come on, stay with me. Nobody's come back, that's my point. When we get to heaven, we will get rewards for what we've done. And it says we will get crowns. And what are we going to do with them crowns? Cast them at Jesus' feet. So how I can't even comprehend what heaven's gonna be like. If we're getting crowns with these jewels and rubies and diamonds and all this on there for what we did in His name, and we're gonna take them off and throw them at His feet. We're not throwing them, but you know what I mean. So what does that say about how heaven's gonna be? We can't even comprehend. All I know is there better be on every corner for Popeye's chicken. Got to be. Well, heaven's going to be different for everybody, Cassie. You can have whatever you want there.
Me neither, so I don't want to be on his side.
Wow,
Nobody wants that chicken.
that's a lot.
Say nobody wants that. Nobody wants that chicken.
But think about it this way. We're going to be walking on gold.
Amen.
Yay.
Goes back to the legacy you've led. If we do have a physical death, you say, what other kind of death can you have? Well, we could be called up.
Yeah.
I would love that happen. I just want to see it. I just want to see how it happens. But I'll tell you, I'll death, that's fine too. I just don't like pain, Judy. Just don't have to suffer. In our death, if we have to tell, if someone in our family has to go and tell someone that Robert was a Christian man, then what kind of Christian legacy did I leave on earth?
Right.
Huh. That's something to think about. If Christy has to stand out there and put up on a sign, Robert, this is his funeral time, this is wake time, we're gonna have Christian, blah, he's just did it. No. I didn't live a I didn't do anything. Or if you had like that, and at the meal, everybody comes to the meal and says, "Oh, Robert was a good worker. He worked and he was here all the time." Don't say anything. He was here all the time. And he called whenever we called. And he came and he did this and he was, So what kind of legacy does that leave? And I'm not saying that's wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that's wrong. But what kind of legacy? It's not what kind of legacy I live. What did I put in my importance of my legacy? What was my importance? And you say, well, so I have to be a good Christian man, but I can't be a good worker? No. You can be both. You can be both. In fact, it biblically says that a Christian should be the best worker at his meeting. You should be the hardest worker. Because you don't want people to look at you and say, well, I thought Robert was a Christian. That better be lazy.
Right.
So what does that say right there? They think you're a lazy Christian too.
Yeah, amen.
We talked about that last Sunday too. See how it goes hand in hand, your legacy? Y'all, it's not about, you can't just come in, and I know he's gonna probably have a fit back when I say this. You cannot come in here and sit in that pew and be lazy,
Come on, try.
being a Christian. You cannot do it. Fellas, y'all can't go to the meet, could go to your workplace and expect to get money, expect for your boss to come in and promote you, and you come in there 15 minutes late, or you're the last one coming out of the break room, or when he comes to ask you, hey, I need you to work extra 30 minutes. Now I gotta go home. Why you gotta go home? You're not married. What your boss is thinking. He's not married, why you gotta go home? Well, I gotta hurry to get home. My Xbox guys will be on there in 30 minutes, and I gotta go home and get ready.
You're right.
Yeah, come on.
We got two of those.
Another thing is garbage. Yeah.
That's the worst trouble I've ever got into. I come home, ask the boys, I said, why ain't y'all weed eat? Why ain't y'all picked up your yard? We'll get to it. I walked in there, I didn't know anything about them games. I walked in there, grabbed that plug, pulled it out of the wall. I said, get out there and get cleaned up. Son, I messed up a hole about, 15 levels? I said, I bet y'all get out there and clean that yard up now.
You see where the world came from me?
Yeah.
Son, it was like I took their girlfriends away from them. Broke their heart. You know how long we played on that? I said, yeah, about 3 hours too much is what should have been work done out there.
Yeah, amen.
They never work so fast. Hurry up and get back in there.
Hey, they didn't even use weed eater. That's out there with scissors. I said, y'all got a weed eater. It takes too long. I said, well, I done figured out how to get stuff done now. Legacy. What is your legacy?
Amen.
And let me throw something at you. Ain't nobody in here got it, but I'm just going to throw them out there. And this is probably going to stir up some stuff on Facebook, but it is what it is. Following your children in the wrong things can
Amen.
also set bad legacy.
Amen.
I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to say it. I'm just going to say it. Worst thing we could have ever done as far as filling for youth programs at church is travel ball. I said it.
We've been there.
You cannot play travel ball Friday, Saturday, come home and play travel ball because they like playing on Sundays. Get your priorities straight. Legacy. What legacy are you leaving?
Amen.
I just got to the Facebook there.
We had to learn. We did it.
Huh?
We did it. We had to wake up and decide what was more important.
Many a times we left Saturday night telling them, hey,
Yep.
y'all want to play a championship game? We'll be back. Didn't go over real well with the coaches, but I went there to press him. Legacy. What kind of legacy will we leave? And I want to say something else to you boys. When does your legacy start? When you become the age of accountability. Josie, you two, y'all already, I know you are. Both of y'all graduated and yeah, y'all got jobs. Josie, 8th grade, right? Freaked me out when I found out he's in 8th grade. I would have given anything at that time in my life to be that big when I was in 8th grade.
Laugh, Freddie. You laugh. We know we would.
If I wanted to, I'm gonna bring out one of my jackets, athletic jackets. Yeah, I did play sports. One of my athletic jackets, let y'all see what it looks like. That baby probably could fill it up. Age of accountability, Joseph. Right now, your legacy starts on.
Right.
Their legacy, because I guarantee you, you can go back and look and ask people that they went to school with or y'all work with, what are they gonna say about you? That's legacy.
Amen.
The legacy just don't start once you become like me and Freddie's age, because you done lived. We're not gonna talk about how long. We've done lived. And it's like we've talked about before. Me and Freddie could be Christians for 400 years. One time will mess up all that. And then it's you having to return. So guys, I'm telling you this, I'm begging you. And I told my boys that played basketball for me, every action every decision you make has what? Consequences. Good or bad. Every decision you make has consequences. Now, with being said that, also goes back to legacy. It doesn't matter what your consequences. I mean, it doesn't matter what your actions are. You can be forgiven for that through Christ, by Christ, and you still have to deal with the consequences. Because I'm telling you right now, the jails and prisons were probably full of guys that had been forgiven, but they still served 15, 16, 17, 20 years. Every action has a consequence. Now I want y'all to turn to this, because I want y'all to repeat it. I want everybody to be on this. John chapter 19. Legacy. John chapter 19, verse 30. Everybody that's lived on this earth has a legacy. Everybody there? I'm going to read it. When Jesus therefore had received the vinegar, he said, "It is finished." And he bowed his head and gave up the ghost. He said, "It is finished." My legacy is finished. This legacy is finished. So I want you to think about next time about legacy. Christ had a legacy too. Is your legacy going to be remembered as a Christian legacy or just another legacy? Let's pray. Father, I thank you for today. I thank you for your word. I thank you for this opportunity, Lord, to come and share your word, learn more about your word, how to apply it to our lives. Father, I ask you to be with all the military this morning.